If you've ever tried to get your finances in order, chances are, you didn't fail just once. You failed, reset, tried again, and promised yourself that this time would be different. You made a budget, followed it for a week, maybe two. You deleted your banking app, stopped checking your balance, and told yourself, next month I'll do better. And when it didn't work, you assumed the problem was you. That you lacked discipline. That you just weren't the kind of person who was good with money. But here's the truth most people never hear. If you've tried to save and failed over and over again, there's a very good chance you didn't do anything wrong. You were just playing a game that was designed against you. Because the real problem isn't motivation. It isn't willpower. And it isn't self-control. The problem is that most saving advice asks humans to behave in ways our brains simply aren't wired for. And behavioral science has proven this. When you stop fighting your own psychology and instead change the way your system is set up, the results don't improve a little. They change completely. Before we go any further, I want to reset one thing. Saving money is not about suffering. It's not about skipping every meal you enjoy, cutting out every small pleasure, or turning your life into a constant exercise in self-denial. That approach doesn't work long-term, and deep down we all know it. Real saving is about design, not discipline. It's about building a system where your brain doesn't have to make the right decision every single day. Because when willpower is the strategy, failure is only a matter of time. What I want to show you instead is a different approach. One that's grounded in behavioral psychology and real human behavior, not unrealistic advice. Over the next few minutes, we'll walk through 6 strategies that don't require extreme frugality or a high income. They work because they're designed around how people actually think, feel, and act with money. And once you see how these systems are set up, saving stops feeling like a constant battle, and starts becoming something that happens almost automatically. The single biggest reason most people struggle to save isn't because they don't want to. It's because every time they try, it feels like they're losing something. When you consciously move money into savings, your brain experiences it as a loss. And psychologically, losing $100 hurts far more than finding $100 ever feels good. This is called loss aversion. And it's one of the strongest forces driving human behavior. Anything that reduces the pile of money you can immediately access triggers resistance, hesitation, and eventually, burnout. That's why relying on willpower to save almost always fails over time. Behavioral research has shown that when savings are automated, when the decision is removed entirely, people don't just save a little more. They save multiple times more. Not because they suddenly became disciplined, but because the system stopped asking their brain to fight itself. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine someone earning an average income. Nothing fancy. No lifestyle upgrade. No drastic cutbacks. The only change they make is this. Instead of deciding whether to save after they get paid, the money is redirected automatically the moment it arrives. And that single change, just the order of where the money flows, completely alters the outcome. Because you can't miss money you never had the chance to spend in the first place. Automation doesn't help you save more by force. It helps you save by removing friction. You're not constantly choosing between present comfort and future security. The choice has already been made, quietly, consistently, in the background. Here's how a simple system might work. Your paycheck first lands in a checking account. On that same day, a predetermined portion is automatically moved into savings. What remains is what you're free to spend. Bills, groceries, life. And at the end of the month, anything left over doesn't disappear. It gets swept into savings as well. Over time, that savings can be directed toward an emergency fund, a high-yield account, or long-term investments. The specifics matter less than the principle. Saving stops being an act of sacrifice and becomes a default behavior. Think of it like a quiet tax you pay to your future self. Not because you're depriving yourself today, but because you're prioritizing the version of you who will eventually need this money far more than you do right now. One of the most common mistakes people make when trying to save is starting with a number that's simply too big. $10,000 sounds responsible. It sounds ambitious. But to your brain it doesn't sound achievable. It sounds abstract. And when a goal feels abstract, the mind doesn't move toward it, it shuts down. A large number like 10,000 doesn't create motivation. It creates pressure. And pressure is exactly what causes people to give up before they ever build momentum. Instead of chasing the full number, the goal needs to be broken down, deliberately, calmly, one step at a time. $10,000 over a year becomes a monthly target. That monthly target becomes a daily number. And once it's framed that way, something interesting happens. The goal stops feeling heavy. It starts feeling manageable. Saving $10,000 in a year isn't about making one massive sacrifice. It's about making a series of small, almost unnoticeable adjustments. The kinds of changes that don't interfere with the parts of life that actually make you happy. Cooking a few more meals at home. Bringing your own coffee. Canceling subscriptions you no longer use. Choosing convenience less often, not never, just less. None of these decisions feel dramatic on their own. But repeated over time, they quietly reshape your financial reality. Money rarely disappears because of one big reckless decision. It disappears because of small choices made over and over again, choices that feel harmless in the moment but compound in the background. There's another force quietly working against you when it comes to saving money, and it has nothing to do with laziness or self-control. It's something psychologists call present bias. In simple terms, the human brain is wired to value what feels good right now far more than what might benefit us later. That wiring made sense for most of human history. When the future was uncertain, prioritizing immediate rewards was a form of survival. But in modern life, that same instinct often works against us. The consequences of today's decisions don't show up tomorrow. They show up months or years down the line. This is why saving feels so unrewarding in the moment. When you spend money, you get an immediate emotional payoff. When you save it, nothing seems to happen. There's no rush. No feedback. Just the quiet feeling that you gave something up. And your brain naturally resists that. So instead of framing saving as a daily sacrifice, the framing itself has to change. You're not telling yourself, I'm saving money today. You're telling yourself, I'm buying a future result. You're choosing stability over stress. Options over pressure. Try to imagine the end of the year, not the number in your account, but the feeling that comes with it. The moment you realize an unexpected expense doesn't immediately cause panic. The quiet confidence of knowing you've created a buffer for yourself. When your decisions are anchored to that future state, present bias begins to lose its power. Saving stops feeling like something you're constantly giving up, and starts feeling like something you're steadily moving toward. Here's something most people don't realize. The game isn't about you being weak or lazy or undisciplined. The game is rigged. Companies like Amazon, Coca-Cola, Nike, they don't just sell products. They spend billions studying how your brain reacts to desire, pleasure, and anticipation. They know what triggers you, what makes you click, what makes you buy. And if you've ever felt like you couldn't resist a purchase, it's not a personal failure. You were designed to spend. But here's the flip side. The same behavioral science that's being used against you can actually work in your favor. Studies show that when people attach a clear emotional reason to saving, when they can feel the purpose behind it, they are multiple times more likely to succeed. Motivation that comes from the heart outperforms motivation that comes from a spreadsheet. So the first question you need to ask yourself isn't, how much should I save? Or, where should I put it? The first question is, why? Why are you saving money in the first place? For me, the answer is my parents. They left everything behind, friends, family, the life they knew, and worked from morning to night not for themselves but for the future of their children. They didn't spend lavishly. They didn't chase status. They quietly saved, clipped coupons, bought just what was necessary, and hoped that their sacrifices would give me a better start. I grew up seeing those small, silent acts of love and foresight. Brandless shoes, clothes intentionally bought a size too big, quiet evenings budgeting to make ends meet. And that perspective shaped my entire view of money. Saving isn't about denying myself today. It's about honoring that sacrifice. It's about creating a life where they never have to worry again. Simon Sinek calls this the golden circle. Your why comes first. It's the emotional core. Everything else, the how, the what, are just tools to get there. You could have the perfect spreadsheet, the perfect automation, the perfect budget, but without a why, the system crumbles. So here's the truth. Saving money isn't about numbers. It's about a promise. A promise to a future version of yourself. A promise to your family. A quiet commitment that every small choice you make today is a step toward a better tomorrow. And when you hold that promise in your mind, saving stops being work. It becomes purpose. Most people think dopamine is a reward for getting what they want. But here's the twist. Dopamine isn't about possession. Dopamine comes from anticipation. It's about the excitement of the chase, the expectation, the almost there feeling. That's why when you finally buy something you've been waiting for, the thrill fades almost immediately. Brands know this. They don't just sell products, they sell anticipation. Flashy on-sale signs, limited-time offers, thresholds to get free shipping. It's all designed to trick your brain into a burst of dopamine, making you feel like you're winning, even if you're spending more than you planned. And it works, because it's rooted in psychology, not luck. But here's the good news. Once you understand this mechanism, you can use it to your advantage. One simple tool is what I call the not now but later list. Whenever I see something I really want, a gadget, a game, a random impulse buy, I write it down. Then I wait. 30 days minimum. Here's what happens almost every time. After a couple of weeks, I realize I didn't actually want it in the first place. It was just a fleeting craving. And if I still want it after 30 days, then I go ahead. But the key is the dopamine isn't killed, it's redirected. I get the thrill of anticipation without giving away control of my money. The takeaway is simple. Delaying gratification doesn't kill desire. It gives you the power to choose. You're not depriving yourself. You're becoming the person in charge of your impulses instead of the other way around. And over time, that tiny shift compounds into real savings without ever feeling like suffering. Let's simplify things. Every time you're about to spend money, ask yourself a simple question. Is this purchase going to serve me better today, or could this money grow into something bigger in the future? No formulas. No spreadsheets. Just a single question. Most people forget one key factor. Time. $100 spent today may feel small, but if invested over 10, 15, 20 years, it compounds quietly, silently transforming into something far larger than the thrill of a single purchase ever could. And here's where ego comes in. We often buy to show off, to keep up with others, or to signal a status we think we need. Morgan Housel calls this the ego framework. It's not moralizing, it's not shaming. It's just a mirror. When you care less about what others think, your spending shrinks naturally. Your savings grow almost effortlessly. The real insight here. Saving isn't about making more money. It's about needing less. It's about focusing on your priorities and letting the noise of social comparison fade. Your money works best when your ego steps aside. Here's the calm truth. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to earn more or cut everything fun out of life. You just need 3 things. A system that works, a reason strong enough to motivate you, and the courage to start immediately when your paycheck hits. Because one day you'll look back and realize something beautiful. It won't feel like you're controlling your money. Instead, it will feel like your money has started working for you. Quietly. Reliably. In the background, building the life you actually want. And that's the real power of saving. Not the spreadsheets. Not the apps. Not the pressure. But the steady, intentional decisions, the emotional clarity, and the small, consistent actions that turn into a future you can trust. If you want to see how these ideas actually work in real life, stick around with me, Mikey. I've got more tips, small experiments, and insights that can make your money start working for you, one choice at a time. No rush, just little steps toward a bigger result.